All right, welcome back. You thought they'd give up, right? Well, not so fast. The New Hampshire Teachers Union is suing the state to end a ban on teaching critical race theory in public schools there. The Daily Wire reported that the New Hampshire chapter of the American Federation of Teachers filed a federal lawsuit on Monday. It argues that the ban violates the First Amendment rights of teachers. Let's welcome in our panel to talk more about this now. Conservative political strategist Jacquie Jordan. She's the host of the podcast Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan. Also with us, Rich Valdez, host of This is America with Rich Valdez, and TW Shannon, the former Speaker of the Oklahoma House, is here with us as well. TW, you know, you think this might be the end of it, what we saw in Virginia, this massive pushback from parents across the country from coast to coast saying they don't want critical race theory in their schools. But of course not. The teachers union not giving up here. Here is a statement from that teachers union. The law has created fear among teachers who are not actually violating any New Hampshire law, but fear they could be targeted without evidence by people with a political agenda. Educators are terrified of losing their teaching license over simply trying to teach. This is something I never thought would happen in America, says Deb Howes, president of the American Federation of Teachers in New Hampshire. What do you say to that, TW?
I mean, cry me a river. It is amazing to watch these Democrat institutions like the teachers unions, which really are the last bastion of Democrat control. It's amazing to watch them just double down on this critical race theory. It's already been proven that it's racist, that it basically divides Americans, and it tries to indoctrinate our young kids to think of each other as either the oppressed or the oppressor. And the Democrats just keep doubling down on it. And I think what they have missed is Americans and parents do not want this in their schools. They said it adamantly. We've seen it across the country. And I think they're going to pay a real price for it the next election cycle.
Yeah, this is the thing, too, Jacquie. What we've learned through all of this, whether it's with the pandemic or critical race theory, is that the teachers union doesn't really represent teachers. It represents, Democrats, really, because they are one of the largest campaign donors to President Biden and the Democratic Party here. That's why they're doing this.
Point, John. I think across America we're seeing unions actually take the position of the Democratic Party all together. So we're seeing the result, of course, of the unions in the school district. And, it's ironic that statement that was placed, given the fact that they just labeled parents and tried to label parents domestic terrorists. So if parents can't work it out in the school districts, then I am all for pulling their kids out of school, because the system only survives if parents send their kids to school and pay school taxes.
Yeah, I don't know what happens here long term, Rich, but the teachers unions are not going to give up in their fight to keep pushing this stuff. The question is, I don't know why, given that we've seen such a strong response from parents against it.
Well, they're a one-trick pony. They don't know anything else. This has been their power structure. The teachers union have been, by extension, the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party in lockstep with the media. And this is all they know how to do. So they're going to continue to use the same playbook over and over. But as more parents step up, it's going to be very refreshing. I served for about 8.5, almost 9 years as a school board member at a charter school. And I can tell you, being free from the teachers union, seeing teachers being allowed to teach is one of the most refreshing things that one can see.
Yeah, well, there's always this effort, it seems, to kind of rewrite history from the woke crowd, the critical race theory crowd. And even when history has been debunked or the narrative has been debunked, we see an attempt to reframe the narrative. And I want to point specifically to that story. You guys remember the fake noose with Bubba Wallace, the NASCAR driver? That was everyone's cause celeb before, I think, the Jesse Smollett thing. Or maybe it was about the same time. I don't know. I lost track here. This was at Talladega Speedway, of course. There was a federal investigation. The FBI sent a shock team there of like 15 agents to investigate this civil rights abuse. But now ESPN is being accused of spreading misinformation themselves after tweeting this yesterday. Quote, last year a noose was found at Bubba Wallace's stall at Talladega Speedway. The NASCAR community stood with him in unity. It was part of a promotion for a ESPN Plus special on the rise of Bubba Wallace. But TW, I mean, Bubba Wallace, to his credit, I think he's won some NASCAR races now, but they're always trying to elevate these folks, whether they deserve it or not. And I think this was just a garage pull, if I'm not mistaken, not a noose.
Yeah, it's amazing, John. It's unfortunate, but just imagine living in a country where African Americans and minorities are so oppressed that we have to make up issues of race, politics, where people are being, ostracized and being targeted for terror attacks. Bubba was just another example of that, where, just like Jussie Smollett, where when the reality comes out, still the left-wing radical media still doubles down on the same narrative. And the narrative is that somehow America is this systemically oppressed place. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the truth is. Long as it fits the narrative, it sells newspapers and it helps with ratings. They continue to promote it. But the problem is it comes at a cost. And the cost is it causes minority children to feel as if they are a burden on the system or that they can't achieve. And it actually opposite of what they promote with white children. It makes them feel superior, and then it makes them feel guilty for things that they didn't do. And unfortunately, this is the left's mantra, and they can't change it now. And I want to go back to something you said before. You asked about, what's the long-term effect of this? The long-term effect in our schools is we've got to move away from these government-controlled schools. We've got to have choice back instituted into our schools so that parents can decide how best to educate their children. And the only way to do that is to allow school choice.
It's true. I mean, I'm a product of public school every year except for one when I went to Catholic school, and you just don't feel like you have that option anymore for your kids. It's very unfortunate. But Jackie, I mean, the investigation found that this garage door pool that may have looked like a noose had actually been there for over a year, but still Bubba Wallace maintains that he saw a noose. No matter what the facts say, he saw a noose, so he is aggrieved here. But that's the problem with this, right? It's all about feelings and what you believe to be true, not about the actual facts of the matter.
Well, I agree that you're correct that, John, I believe this was supposed to be a trigger event that was going to be perpetrated by the media. ESPN, I think of exploitive, socialist, progressive news network is how that looks to me. And even, the fact that they retweeted it without clarifying that it was misinformation, and the need to jump on something like this is so divisive. It doesn't bring any conversations forward that are harmonious. I think Steve Phelps from the NASCAR and NASCAR as a organization handled it really well. I know that they brought Michael Jordan in as an investor at some point afterwards. But there are sports organizations like NASCAR, UFC, and the NHL who have really not taken the race bait in the way that the NBA and the NFL has. And we've seen a lot of that, I want to say, exploitation of that.
Yeah, let me give I want to give the last 30 seconds here to Rich, because we're almost out of time. But Rich, what's your take on all this? Should ESPN correct the record here with another tweet?
Well, honesty has never been requisite for the left within the media, for the left within the classrooms, for the left within our government. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to pile on because this is a battle of information, and they're after people's emotions. They want people to feel bad, to feel aggrieved, to feel less than. It's this battle over equity, and the more inequitable you feel, the better for them. That's what they do time and time again, and I think it's up to people that are after the truth to get beyond that and hear past the noise.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you in the next hour. More conversation with our panel still ahead.
Are you vaccinated, if I
Yes.
may ask?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very pro-vaccination.
Yeah.
I believe the science is unequivocal.
Yeah.
I treat it to that effect. But by the same token, I am against forcing people to be vaccinated. I think this is just not something we should do in America. I think we should encourage people to be vaccinated, strongly try to convince them to be vaccinated,
Right.
but not force them to be vaccinated, or for example, force them to get vaccinated or get fired.
Not that crazy of a position, actually. Let's bring in our political panel to talk about it. Jacquie Jordan's back with us. She's the host of the Front and Center podcast with Jacquie Jordan, also host of This is America with Rich Valdez. Rich Valdez here as well, and T.W. Shannon back with us again. I can't imagine how frustrating it must be, Jacquie, for someone like Elizabeth Warren to have Elon Musk coming at her like this. I mean, this is a guy that's built successful companies before. He's actually done things in the private sector, unlike Elizabeth Warren, who lied to get into Harvard. She's never done anything outside of academia or government.
I think it's so funny. Elizabeth Warren, I can't help but think when I hear Donald Trump saying Pocahontas. But Elon Musk is a media darling. He's a media favorite, and he's a Gen Xer, which I also really appreciate and value. And he took the Gen X response to Elizabeth Warren in his tweet back to her. And we're looking at all of these long-term politicians who are in public servants, who like Nancy Pelosi, who bought her $20+ million home in Florida who've made great money, and they're picking on him. And I think the other important point that he made in the tweet is that he's going to be paying probably the most taxes of an individual like in U.S. history. And we love that. There's no doubt about Elon Musk that he's pro-capitalism, and so I wouldn't expect him anything better of him than to pay his taxes.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get a clear answer. You mentioned this house Nancy Pelosi bought in Florida. I saw this too. Isabel Brown mentioned it yesterday. I happen to live in that same county, so I've been checking the property records. The property in question hasn't been sold as far as I can tell you, but I will let everyone know if Nancy Pelosi is buying a house in Florida, but that seems to be a rumor. But on this topic of Elon Musk.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, right. There, on the topic, I can't imagine she'd be too welcome there either. It's like a plus 25 Trump area where she allegedly bought this house. But I digress. TW, when it comes to Elon Musk, I mean, just think of, Jackie mentioned this. He said this. He's going to pay more taxes than anyone in U.S. history this year. He also has created tens of thousands of jobs. Those people pay taxes as well. But that doesn't matter to anyone like Elizabeth Warren. She's just a one-trick pony like Bernie Sanders. Tax the wealthy. Oh, that's all she's got.
No, you're exactly right, John. And I just take one issue with what Elon said. He called her Karen. And I want to say I was the first one that referred to AOC as KOC. She is the Karen of Congress, not Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is still Pocahontas. She's actually an Oklahoma.
I'll let you debate that with Elon Musk.
But I will say this. I think this is much bigger than just Elon Musk or even Elizabeth Warren. It's really reminiscent of the last total assassination of capitalism. They've made, profits and capitalism enemy number one, and you see this coming out in policy from the administration that's currently in office, the Biden administration, and you also see this happening with the talking points of the Democrat left. They hate capitalism, they hate everything about freedom, and it comes out every time you see someone like Elon Musk, who's a trailblazer and trying to do things that haven't been done before, and they're doing it in the name of capitalism. But for some reason, those on the left, like Elizabeth Warren, who are subscribed to this failing socialist program, they're calling for more taxes. And if you want more of something, you tax it less. If you want less of something, you tax it more. If you want less innovation, then you tax it more. And that's exactly what the left is trying to do.
Rich, I would love to get inside the heads of some of these Tesla owners out there who are super liberal, and they thought they were doing the right thing by buying an electric car, and then they find out that the owner of Tesla has been red-pilled and goes against a lot of what they believe. Elon Musk certainly going out there on a limb here, taking some of these policy positions. Do you think it will affect him negatively like it affected in kind of the converse some of these woke companies who got political?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a long line of left-wing advocates saying, oh, take my Tesla back. I don't think that's the case. But I do think Elon Musk is, again, doing kind of what Trump did in many ways, showing people it's all right to embrace capitalism. It's okay to make a lot of money and be successful. And it's really a good idea to push back on the people that are Marxist adherents and communist sympathizers that want to destroy capitalism so that they can have everybody in America worship at the altar of their government.
Yeah, speaking of that, what did you think about Dick Blumenthal, Rich, going to a Communist Party organization event in Connecticut? What is up with that?
I told my brothers who were Obama supporters back in 2008, and I'll say the same thing here. These people are telling us who they are, and we must believe them. They're not lying. They're telling you what they believe in. He tried to skirt around the issue a little bit, but I think he's showing his true colors. He's a real Marxist sympathizer, absolutely in bed with the wrong side of history here.
Yeah.
Hey, John, can I go to one point you made? You said you want to get into the heads of those that own Teslas. Are you saying that you really want to get into the head of AOC? Remember, she drives a Tesla as well. That's a scary thought.
I would love to be standing behind AOC at a Starbucks or something when she finds out, Ilhan Omar said this, and say, how's that Tesla working out for you now? Do you still support that company? I'm sure she's probably fine with it because she has no problem parking in, I think, handicapped spaces either. She was busted for that.
Most socialists in America have, enjoyed the fruits of capitalism like nobody else. That's for sure.
That is true. Let's stay in the House and talk about what's going on there. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar got some support from Nancy Pelosi, and wouldn't you know, Democrats passed this new legislation to create a special envoy to combat Islamophobia. This was a week after progressives introduced a separate bill to strip Congresswoman Lauren Boebert from her committee assignments following what she said about Ilhan Omar, kind of alleging that she supports terrorism. you know, maybe she shouldn't have said those things, but I think this really tells us, Jackie, what the priorities of Democrats are, to leverage this divisive kind of rhetoric for the most, you know, bombastic type of thing possible. And it's so ironic that they would pass this, considering Ilhan Omar's own record for anti-Semitism. You know, it's...
as a longtime media expert consultant, I'm so First Amendment. I am so for free speech. I believe that we need to even know who our enemies are and how they think by what they say. And when we get into the micro controlling of what people say and making things legal and not illegal, we just get into. We've been watching the censorship over the past year. I mean, now that the fact checkers are coming out, that they were, you know, because of the fact checkers have finally admitted that they were just using opinion and not fact check. Do you know how many people made decisions based on being labeled fact checkers? So this is just another. I mean, I don't like hate speech against anybody, any race or gender or anything. However, we become informed and we learn who people are and how they think when they say their truth or their perspective. So
Indeed.
So not for this at all.
Yeah, you know, Rich, I got an article here from NPR that talks about the rise of anti-Semitic attacks across the country. Not as much reporting on the rise of Islamophobia outside of this incident allegedly involving Lauren Boebert and what she said about Ilhan Omar. There's no shortage of history between the two there. But is this really what Congress should be focusing their attention on right now? Is this the key issue, Islamophobia?
Well, number one, I'm sorry to hear that you're looking at NPR. Number two, they're always looking at a way to divide us, right? Whether it's hating the straight people, hating the white people, hating this and that. I mean, this is the latest in another attempt to just continue to marginalize the population, to segment the American society into what they want. And ultimately, I think it backfires on them because it's going to get so granular that they're going to create rugged individualism.
Yeah, you know, I used to be a big NPR fan, Market Watch and all that other stuff. It used to be decent, but I do think it's worth noting out sometimes when a state-run media organization like NPR actually points out that anti-Semitism is becoming a problem. I think it's worth noting. This isn't Breitbart or us or anyone else that focuses on this regularly pointing out. It's NPR, which goes to show you.
NPR took a lot of PPP money from, you know, that was one of the Nancy Pelosi's little contingencies that, you know, passed through. They were holding back that. So you can see, follow the money.
Follow the money. Always a good idea. You never know where it leads, though. Thanks so much to our panel, Jackie, TW, and Rich. We'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks so much.